We have some breaking news that is coming out of Washington, D.C. You may have seen some of the updates coming out of the Middle East. I woke up to a lot of them that were fairly alarming, as even in Israel, they're saying, hey, if you're an American in Israel, make sure you're not traveling anywhere other than the major cities, Tel Aviv, Jerusalem. And, obviously we got our team at ACLJ Jerusalem, so I've been in contact with them. We got to make sure everyone stays as safe as possible as things have started to escalate. And it looks like they're escalating in Iran, along with other places around the world.
You're seeing the United States offer evacuations effectively, saying that if you're non-essential or non-emergency personnel, or if you're families of people that work at these installations, we will bring you back to the United States on the government's dime. This is a big move. This hasn't happened in this way since back in 2015.
Indicating that we may be heading into a real conflict.
That's right. And what we know is that the Iranians have warned that even if it's Israel that strikes them, that they will retaliate by trying and attempting to strike U.S. installations in the region, whether it be embassies and consulates or whether it be military installations. We have a lot of large bases there. One of the largest air bases is in Bahrain, which is just across the Persian Gulf from Iran, the Gulf of Arabia, depending on what you want to call it, as well as you have situations in Israel, Iraq, and Kuwait. And we're going to break down all of these because it's all pointing to something bigger happening.
And look, this has been coming for months and months. A lot of people have been concerned about it. But now it seems like we may be hitting a tipping point, so much so that the Americans Pete Hegseth and a lot of the groups and the embassies are starting to issue warnings and evacuations, telling people where they can travel to, where they can't travel to, whether that's in Israel, or also giving people an option to leave. There's also some security warnings coming out of the UK. So it seems like this is strategic, that this is planned, that they know something is happening. And of course, as you said, this weekend, there's supposed to be another talk that is going to be happening between the U.S. and Iranian officials in Oman. Now, what you'd hope is that, okay, they're prepping for if that meeting goes wrong. And hopefully it does not. I mean, look, I think you're dealing with Iran. You're not dealing with, a normal government. But let's go through what I know a lot of you are tuning in for, which is what are the warnings for Americans.
That's right. And normally, if the State Department issues a warning to a consulate somewhere in the world, that's not abnormal, right? Saying, hey, there's some tensions or some travel warning, we're taking care of our staff. That's not abnormal. What's abnormal is how broad these orders and all started to happen at the exact same time yesterday afternoon and evening. But in Iraq, the State Department has ordered non-emergency personnel at the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad and the consulate in Erbil to depart immediately. Israel, travel restrictions are placed on U.S. diplomatic personnel amid concerns tied to regional instability. What they've actually said is if you are in Tel Aviv or Jerusalem, don't leave the city. Yes, and if you're not there, go to a major city and remain there. Don't just be going throughout the country. In Bahrain and Kuwait, very similar to what they issued in Iraq, they've authorized voluntary departure of U.S. government employees and family members at U.S. embassies. And then you have the military family evacuation. This is from the Department of Defense and Pete Hegseth. They have authorized military families in Bahrain and Kuwait to very large military installations with a lot of Americans that live there because they work on the base and have their family there. The U.S. government will voluntarily evacuate you from Bahrain and Kuwait and cover the transportation costs. There's also this maritime warning. This is from the UK. Maritime Trade Operations issued a warning to commercial vessels in the Strait of Hormuz, the Gulf of Oman, and the Persian Gulf. This is a very rare and abnormal warning issued on commercial shipping in these areas. And this all comes at the time when we see that the IAEA has done, for the first time in 20 years, they have formally declared Iran in breach of its non-proliferation obligations. So things are heightening. We know that the IAEA says that Iran has enough enriched uranium for potentially making 9 nuclear bombs. And the tone from our president has started to change as well, who is very optimistic he could cut a deal with the Iranians. But we're starting to hear even that language change ahead of this Sunday meeting in Oman.
The meeting that's going to happen, Will, in Oman, maybe we need to give people a bit of what's happening here, because they've had these meetings before, recently, where the U.S. officials have sat down with members of the Iranian government and said, okay, let's try to come up with some sort of solution here. In the background, as we know, though, that they are funding what's happening in Gaza. They are funding what's happening to Israel.
That's right. And what these are direct talks.
Including sending direct rockets.
Right.
It's not like it's all a shell game.
Right. What these are direct talks between negotiators from the United States, led by Steve Witkoff, who has done remarkable work in some of these high-level, high-risk negotiations with governments around the world. And they are negotiating with their Iranian counterparts to try and reach a deal, and not a deal like the JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action under Obama, where they gave lots and lots of money with no real restrictions and no real oversight on the Iranians. They were trying to get to a place where they could monitor and restrict and ensure that Iran does not get a nuclear weapon through these talks. The president and the team were optimistic. Obviously, you're going into something like this, you want to be optimistic that you can reach an outcome. But that tone has shifted. And this is, I believe, the 6th round of these talks. They've met in Switzerland. They've met in Oman before. And they are trying to get to the end point where there doesn't have to be a war. And I think it'd be interesting. I know we have a lot of people that call in that may have served or have seen what happened with even the war in Iraq. And I think that's where a lot of people's fears are. And I think where President Trump's fear is.
That pull is there right now.
Right.
Like it feels a bit like March of 2002.
Right. And when we went in there, we were in for a very long time to seek regime change from Saddam Hussein's regime. And it was on the premise of he had weapons of mass destruction. Yep. Now, it seems like deja vu all over again. I know that there are many people within the regime of Iran that will never change, including the Ayatollah, but also within the Trump administration, including President Trump himself, that don't want another forever war Iraq on their hands. We know that Iran is a real threat. Iran is probably a much more real threat than Saddam Hussein. We know that they have these proxy wars that are going on.
They at least want it.
Right.
They want to have these wars. They want to have these weaponry. We are so excited to announce the ACLJ's brand new app, completely redesigned to provide you with the best tools available to partner with us at the ACLJ. You can watch the daily Secular program, sign the petitions, customize your ACLJ membership experience, donate with the click of a button, and receive up-to-the-minute critical updates that the mainstream media can't censor. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to your phone's app store, search ACLJ, and click install. It's that simple.